Hey guys, this is a response to scholagladiatoria's video on how to design realistic sword and weapons for fantasy worlds. And I think Matt makes some really good points, and I think it's something that many fantasy world creators need to think about. But I do think he is missing a couple of things, and he's making a couple of assumptions that would change things. So I'm just gonna look at my notes here. So for the first point is that he's making the assumption that it's gotta be weapons, but so you have to deal with, he says something like you have to deal with wildlife and other species and stuff like that. But you don't necessarily need weapons to deal with those things. You need some way of dealing with them, otherwise you would be dead. So if that's weapons, maybe it's tactics. So you have some like mediocre weapons, but you have so good tactics that you can deal with them. For example, like the example with indigenous American tactic of running the buffalo off the hill, something like that. Well, you know, similar things. It could also be, when it comes to the intelligent species like the orcs and stuff like that, I think it's highly likely that you would see a lot of diplomacy, because otherwise they would kill each other. I mean, the one of the species or both would not be around because after a while, because they would have killed each other. So I think it's more likely you would see diplomacy in some way, so that they don't actually attack each other all the time. You might still have weapons to deal with them, of course, but not the only thing you need. Another thing is that he says that since you would have a common enemy, humans would have a common enemy or several common enemies, you don't need to have weapons that are specialized to kill humans. That's not necessarily true either. Depends on how everything happened or why, but it's entirely plausible that you would have those weapons as well. For example, if you have orcs, let's say we have a world where there are humans and orcs, then if you have orcs, you would probably need some level of diplomacy, but you would probably also need weapons to deal with them. But then you would have a stable world where people don't need to kill orcs all the time, and in that case you would go back to having humans killing each other for different reasons, for like honor or whatever. And then you might want to have a rapier, because that's optimal for killing humans or dueling with humans. Another thing is the idea of the horde of small enemies like kobolds or, I don't know, goblins or whatever. The entire idea there that we see in role-playing games, that you see hordes of them and they are so easy to kill, so they just run at you and all of them die. That's not reasonable if you look at it from a real-world perspective. They would kill, I mean, the species would kill themselves because they would all die if they didn't act smarter or have some way of dealing with it, you know. You could argue that they could have a much faster reproduction or something like that, but that's not going to be enough, because you still need the energy to grow the bodies, you know. You need the food, and there's no way of getting around that problem. So these kobolds and whatever small enemies, monsters, what do you want to call it, they would also need to use the exact same thing we just talked about. They would have to think like we just said that the humans need to think about with the orcs. So the kobolds would have to have some level of diplomacy with the humans to make sure that they don't kill each other, and they would have to have weapons that are specialized to kill humans, because humans would be a threat to them. They wouldn't just run hundreds of kobolds into a group of dozens of humans and hope they kill someone. Or if they did, they wouldn't exist. You know, that's my point. Yeah, exactly. So otherwise, it was I think he made some really good points. It's something you see in all, well, not all maybe, but a lot of fantasy worlds. They make some strange assumptions about weapons and armor. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you around.